In this course, we will be focusing on specific vulnerabilities associated with D-Link routers, particularly CVE-2014-100005. Our goal is to provide you with a thorough technical understanding of these vulnerabilities. As your instructor from SecureTech, I will guide you through the complexities of this CVE and its implications on devices such as the D-Link DIR-600 router. This certification course is tailored to empower you with the knowledge and skills necessary to identify, analyze, and address these vulnerabilities effectively, thereby enhancing your capabilities in securing network infrastructure. Let's delve into the technical specifics and prepare you for practical exploitation scenarios. In this section, we will dive into an analytical overview of the CVE 2014-1005 CSRF vulnerability, focusing specifically on its implications for the D-Link DIR-600 routers. We will explore why understanding these vulnerabilities is crucial for ensuring the security of network infrastructure. First, we'll thoroughly analyze the CSRF vulnerability identified as CVE 2014-1005, and then examine its impact on the D-Link DIR-600 routers. It's vital to comprehend how these vulnerabilities could be exploited and the potential consequences of such exploits. This section is important because it not only helps you grasp the technical aspects of network vulnerabilities, but also prepares you for practical exploitation scenarios. Mastery of such topics is essential for effectively managing and securing network systems against potential threats. This slide delves into understanding CVE 2014-1005, a critical CSRF vulnerability specifically affecting D-Link DIR-600 routers revision BX with firmware versions prior to 2.17b02. This vulnerability allows remote attackers to hijack admin authentication. The impact is significant, enabling unauthorized actions such as creating admin accounts or enabling remote management, leading to compromised router configurations and unauthorized remote management. This compromises network security, emphasizing the importance of keeping firmware updated to mitigate such vulnerabilities. Now, let's delve into the severity and metrics of this particular CSRF vulnerability in the D-Link DIR-600 routers. Notably, this vulnerability is currently unscored by the National Vulnerability Database, meaning it has not been formally rated for its severity. However, based on the potential risks, we can infer that it is critical. The primary reason for this inference is the capacity of the vulnerability to allow unauthorized administrative account compromise. Regarding the metrics, exploitation of this vulnerability necessitates unauthorized remote access. If an attacker successfully exploits this flaw, it can lead to significant network disruptions. Given the possibility of unauthorized changes to the router's configuration, including enabling remote management or creating new admin accounts, the overall security posture of affected networks can be severely compromised. Understanding these metrics underscores the importance of addressing such vulnerabilities rapidly to mitigate potential risks. Let's look at an example of exploiting a vulnerability through a cross-site request forgery or CSRF attack aimed at hijacking an administrative session. In this scenario, an attacker leverages CSRF tokens to manipulate the router into processing unauthorized actions. The crafted configuration module is used to inject malicious directives into the router's web interface. Here's an example form that an attacker might use. HTML form method post /ta headwig./ newvad password. When this form is submitted, it tricks the router into creating a new admin account with credentials specified by the attacker, thereby granting administrative access and compromising the network's security. This underscores the potential severity of the vulnerability, highlighting the need for robust security measures to protect against unauthorized remote exploitation. In this demonstration, we will explore how a cross-site request forgery, CSRF attack, can be used to enable remote management on a router. The exploit involves craftily sending a post request to the router's configuration interface, headwig.cgi. Here's an example of the attack. HTML form method action input remote management value With this crafted form, the attacker's goal is to enable remote management on the router without the admin's knowledge. The hidden inputs set the remote management feature to enabled, allowing access from any IP address at port 8080. When the form is submitted, these settings are applied, potentially exposing the router to unauthorized remote access. This type of attack highlights the importance of implementing strong CSRF protections within router configurations and regularly updating firmware to patch any vulnerabilities. In this section, we'll delve into the issue of command execution and configuration activation via CSRF attacks. By exploiting vulnerabilities within services like pidgin.cgi, attackers can activate new settings on the router. Here, a crafted form may be used to send a post request that targets the router's pidgin.cgi endpoint, potentially allowing malicious reconfiguration. To combat such threats, adhering to best practices is critical. 1. Preventive measures. Always update to the latest firmware version to ensure any known vulnerabilities are patched. Use unique, complex passwords for router admin accounts to reduce the risk of unauthorized access. Implement robust CSRF protections in the router configuration, such as using CSRF tokens. 2. Vendor-specific fixes. Follow your router manufacturer's guidance regarding firmware updates and security patches. They often release advisories or updates that address specific vulnerabilities. By maintaining up-to-date firmware and employing strong security practices, you can significantly mitigate the risk of CSRF attacks aimed at changing your router's settings. In looking at real-world scenarios related to CSRF vulnerabilities, it's essential to reference cybersecurity advisories such as those from CISA. These advisories often urge patch updates and thorough vulnerability management. For example, they frequently highlight the importance of keeping firmware updated to mitigate these risks. Case studies serve as concrete examples. There have been numerous instances where organizations were significantly affected by vulnerabilities stemming from unpatched routers. These scenarios underline the critical need for proactive measures. To adopt best practices, regularly auditing and securing all network devices is crucial. This is particularly important for devices that have reached end of life, as they may no longer receive regular security updates. In the following slide, we will delve into the specifics of CSRF vulnerability management, including practical exploitation and mitigation techniques, and outline the next steps. Now, let's move forward. In this slide, we'll focus on the importance of managing CSRF vulnerabilities. Cross-Site Request Forgery, CSRF, allows attackers to trick users into executing unwanted actions on a web application where they're authenticated, leading to potential breach of sensitive information or unauthorized actions. We will discuss practical techniques for exploiting and mitigating these vulnerabilities. Exploitation often involves social engineering tactics, such as embedding malicious requests within a web page. Mitigation techniques include implementing anti-CSRF tokens, enforcing same-site cookie attributes, and thorough user input validation. Next, it's crucial to keep your firmware updated to ensure all security patches are applied. Regular audits and consistent security measures, such as code reviews and penetration testing, are necessary to identify and address security flaws. For references, consulting sources like the CISA Kev Catalog, IBM X-Force, and D-Link Security Advisories will provide valuable information and updates on managing vulnerabilities effectively. Finally, thank you for participating in this course. If you found the content beneficial, please leave a like.